Singapore is rolling out 3 new tools to help early education educators better support neurodiverse children. And these include an inclusive support guide and training videos designed to address the gap in local resources. Council Chairman for the PCF Council of Management, Josephine Teo, says there will be continued collaboration with preschools to champion neurodiversity through inclusive education. Over the past year, CPF centres have supported nearly 7,000 neurodiverse learners.
PCF Sparkletots has always been able to draw on a fairly large pool of passionate and dedicated educators who are deeply committed to making meaningful impact on the children's lives. Our educators must be empowered with the right tools, the right knowledge and confidence so that you can better support each and every child.
Mrs. Teo was speaking at the inaugural Inclusion Conference 2025, which focuses on embracing neurodiversity in early education. The event brought together educators, parents and experts to share strategies and insights on supporting children with diverse learning needs such as autism and ADHD. These efforts are part of the Foundation's 3-year plan to make sure educators have the tools they need to support neurodiverse children every step of the way. PCF Sparkletots operates close to 350 centres across the island with an enrolment of over 40,000 students. To help us better understand this topic, I have with me Dr. Hani Ng, Director of Inclusive Education at the PCF Sparkletots Preschool. And also with us is Janice Leong, Deputy Director at the Early Intervention Services at the Rainbow Centre. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us.
So, Ms. Leong, let's start with you. For the sake of some of us who may not be too familiar with the term neurodivergence, what exactly is that term? And what does it also mean when we say unlocking the potential of neurodivergent children?
Well, neurodivergence or neurodiversity refers to the concept that all our brains work differently. So the way that we think, the way that we learn or interact with the environment or our world is different. And in this instance, we are referring to children with developmental needs, such as those with children with autism or children with ADHD. So they may learn or think differently, but it is all a natural part of human diversity or human differences. So in the sense of unlocking their potential is really accepting that they learn and think differently, and therefore the way that we teach them can also be different.
But why must this process of unlocking potential be done at an early age?
Well, for that, we refer to the principles of early intervention. So in early childhood intervention, we believe that at 6 years and below, so when the child is really young, that is the time where the brain is highly adaptable, and that's our best chance to actually give them the skills that they need, such as social skills, communication skills, motor skills, and so on.
Okay, Dr. Ng, let's bring you in here. PCF is the largest preschool in Singapore with about, 40,000 children. How has PCF Sparkletots been dealing with children with neurodivergent conditions?
So for us, for a long time, we've been working from a deficit model. So what that means is that we look at what the child needs, and then we provide the intervention, support what the child, train the child in what he or she needs. And for the last few years, we've taken a slightly different approach. Besides the intervention, what we are doing is to look at it from a whole center's perspective, recognizing that all children will be different and accepting that difference, normalizing it. And in that way, we then look at the environment and say, how can we support each and every one of our children to make sure that they learn best? So in the last 3 years, we've been putting in universal classroom strategies. So this includes visual support and having buddy system in place, having calming corners, and all these are helping our children to be independent, to learn self-regulation, and actually putting it in place for them to learn those skills.
So really taking on a more holistic approach to dealing with kids with different conditions. But over the past year, PCF centres have supported nearly 7,000 neurodiverse learners. Are we seeing more children in our preschools with neurodivergent conditions?
I think there are two parts to this. The first is there's the better awareness. And because there's better awareness, then families are also going to the clinic earlier to get the diagnosis. I think in March last year, there was an article that talks about the longer wait list because of the increase that I think, in the increase in numbers. So,
what would you say is the most common?
I think language delay generally and features of autism.
Okay. And, Ms. Leong, neurodivergent children, as you said earlier, typically have different struggles, right? From people whose brains develop or work more typically. Take us through some of the special strengths that neurodivergent children have.
Well, I mean, for us, we see children as children. So all children have different strengths and different challenges. So when we talk about specific, perhaps diagnosis that the children have, so we may have children with autism who may be able to do math. They may have certain motor skills that are what you may consider typical, but they may struggle really with, say, the social skills. So how do they build friendships, for example, or how do they actually read social nuances that their peers are showing to them? So these are some of their challenges that they face.
What about the educators? What are some of the considerations or the challenges for them when taking care of these children, Dr. Ng?
Okay, so and I think that probably lead us to our 3-year roadmap to support our educators. And as you heard the conversation, the talk from Mrs. Teo, that we have very, very passionate educators. And one of the key things is feeling whether they're confident enough to deal with neurodiverse children and how do they deal with it with the different children in the classroom. And what we've put together for the last 3 years is really a guidebook for them to help them, some visual support that would help them, help all children in the classroom, and really to give our teachers training, build up the capabilities, and help them to feel confident that, they can manage this when some of the environmental supports are in place, and they can then be comfortable managing a group of children.
And these new tools, they'll be rolling out soon at all PCF Sparkletots schools. Is that right, Dr. Ng?
Yes.
Does PCF plan to share these resources to help neurodivergent children with all preschools across Singapore?
We are currently on our second iteration, and we're still working on that, and we'll probably circle back once we know that we've plugged in everything that we need.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Ng and Ms. Leong, for speaking with us tonight. That was Dr. Honey Ng from PCF Sparkletots Preschool and Ms. Janice Leong from Rainbow Centre.